What if I told you that the person you're trying so desperately to become is slowly murdering who you actually are? Right now, as you listen to these words, something inside you is dying, something authentic, something real, something that once breathed freely before the world taught you to suffocate it with politeness. You know this feeling. It lives in your chest like a stone. That moment when you swallow your truth to avoid an uncomfortable silence, when you laugh at jokes that aren't funny, when you nod along to opinions that make your soul cringe. Each time, a little part of you disappears. You tell yourself it's temporary, just this once, just to keep the peace, just to fit in, just to be liked. But temporary has become permanent. And the person looking back at you in the mirror, do you even recognize them anymore? Carl Jung saw this tragedy playing out in every human life. He watched brilliant minds dim themselves to seem less threatening. He saw passionate hearts grow cold to avoid rejection. He witnessed souls contort themselves into shapes that pleased everyone, except themselves. And he discovered something that will either liberate you or terrify you. The very approval you're chasing is the thing that's slowly killing your spirit. Every yes when you mean no, every smile when you want to scream, every performance when you long to simply be. Each moment is a choice between acceptance and authenticity. And most people choose acceptance. They choose the comfortable lie over the difficult truth. They choose the warm prison of approval over the cold freedom of being real. But what if you didn't have to choose? What if there was a way to be both authentic and connected? What if the very thing you're afraid of losing by being yourself is exactly what you'll gain? Jung spent his life studying this paradox. He found that the people who stop seeking approval don't become isolated. They become magnetic. They don't lose love. They find it in places they never expected. The question isn't whether you can afford to be authentic. The question is whether you can afford not to be. Because the person you're pretending to be is a ghost. And ghosts don't get to live real lives. Are you ready to stop haunting your own existence? Why you became a prisoner without knowing it. You didn't choose this cage. It was built around you, brick by brick, from the day you were born. Society has one job to make you conform, not to help you flourish, not to discover your authentic self, to fit you into shapes that serve the collective machine. From childhood, you learn the rules of survival: cry and get ignored, comply and get rewarded, stand out and get punished, question authority and face consequences. Each lesson was simple. Your worth depends on other people's approval. Boys don't cry. Girls should be nice. Smart kids get good grades. Successful people make money. Happy families never fight. The messages came from everywhere: parents, teachers, media, peers, all teaching you the same deadly lesson: who you are isn't enough. So you adapted. You learned to read the room, to sense what people wanted, to become whatever version of yourself would earn acceptance. You became a master of emotional shape-shifting. But adaptation has a hidden cost. Jung understood this trap better than anyone. He watched people trade their souls for social acceptance. He saw how we become prisoners of other people's expectations, living lives that look successful from the outside but feel hollow within. He called this the great tragedy of human existence, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But how can you become yourself when you're trapped in a character you built just to survive? This is the cruel paradox. The more you try to please everyone, the more you lose yourself. The more acceptance you seek, the more you reject your own truth. Every day you compromise who you are for who you think you should be, and your authentic self slowly suffocates. The psychology behind your need for approval. Jung discovered something crucial about why some people fall deeper into this trap than others. It's not about willpower or character, it's about psychological types. If you're what Jung called an extroverted feeling type, you're in particular danger. Your internal compass points toward other people's emotions. You judge your worth by how others react to you. Your self-esteem rises and falls with their approval. The problem: other people are unreliable. They're moody, distracted, and dealing with their own issues. Building your identity on their approval is like building a house on quicksand. The foundation will always be shifting, but introverts aren't safe either. If you're an introverted thinking type, you might hide your ideas, your innovations, your deepest insights because you fear intellectual rejection. You censor yourself before anyone else gets the chance. The result is the same: a life lived in half-light, always falling short of your true potential. No matter your psychological type, the approval-seeking virus finds a way in. It exploits your specific vulnerabilities. It turns your strengths into weaknesses. Your empathy becomes people-pleasing. Your intelligence becomes overly complicated explanations designed to impress rather than communicate. And here's the insidious part. The more you seek approval, the more your brain becomes wired for it. Every like, every compliment, every nod of agreement releases dopamine. You become addicted to external validation. Over time, you lose the ability to validate yourself. You forget what your own opinion sounds like. You can't make decisions without checking how others will react. This is how you become a prisoner. Not through force, but through conditioning. Not overnight, but through 1,000 small compromises that seem harmless at the time. Understanding the persona, your social mask. Jung gave a name to the face you show the world, the persona, from the Latin word for the masks worn by actors in ancient theater. You wear personas every day: the professional you are at work, the loving parent at home, the charming friend at parties, the dutiful child with your parents. Each role requires a slightly different version of yourself. This isn't necessarily bad. Personas serve a function. They help you navigate different social contexts. They're tools for survival in a complex world. But here's where it becomes dangerous: when you forget that the persona is just a mask. When the role becomes so comfortable, so familiar, that you think it actually is you. When you lose track of where the performance ends and your authentic self begins. Look at your life right now with brutal honesty. How many of your daily decisions are really yours? How many are just you following the script of whatever persona you're wearing? That job you hate, but keep because it looks impressive. Those opinions you pretend to hold because they make you popular. The relationships you maintain to avoid disappointing people. The hobbies you pursue because they fit your image. Each choice is a small betrayal of your authentic self. The persona feeds on approval like a parasite. It grows stronger with each compliment, each social media like, each "you're so amazing" from people who only know your mask. But I'm never satisfied. It always needs more validation, more admiration, more proof that the performance is working. Meanwhile, your real self is starving. The parts of you that don't fit the persona, your weird interests, Your unpopular opinions, your messy emotions, your unconventional dreams get pushed deeper underground. You start to believe that the mask is more lovable than the face beneath it, that the performance is more valuable than the truth, that who you really are isn't good enough. This is how the persona becomes a prison, not through chains and locks, but through comfort and familiarity. The mask feels safer than vulnerability. The role feels more secure than authenticity. But safety isn't living, and security isn't freedom. The shadow, what you hide from yourself. Now we reach the heart of Jung's psychology, the concept that explains why seeking approval feels so desperately necessary. Your shadow isn't just your dark side, it's everything you've rejected in yourself. Not just your flaws and weaknesses, but also your power, your wildness, your unconventional desires, your rebellious thoughts. Everything you decided was unacceptable lives in the shadow. Your anger because good people don't get angry. Your ambition because humble people don't seek attention. Your sexuality because nice people don't have those thoughts. Your need for solitude because social people are always available. The shadow contains all your unlived potential, all the roads not taken, all the aspects of yourself you've sacrificed on the altar of social acceptance. And here's the connection most people miss. Your desperate need for approval is really your terror that someone will see your shadow. Every criticism hits like a physical blow because it might expose what you're hiding. Every disapproving look feels like death because it threatens to reveal your secret shame. Every moment of potential rejection triggers panic because you're convinced that if people saw the real you, the complete you, they would run. So you perform harder. You please more desperately. You perfect your mask until it's flawless. You do whatever it takes to keep the shadow buried, to maintain the illusion that you are only your light side. But shadows don't disappear when you ignore them. They grow stronger. They control you from behind the scenes. They sabotage your relationships, your career, your happiness in ways you don't even recognize. The shadow leaks out in your passive aggression when you can't express anger directly, in your self-sabotage when you can't acknowledge your ambition, in your emotional numbness when you can't accept your full range of feelings. Jung discovered something revolutionary. The goal isn't to eliminate the shadow, it's to integrate it, to look at every rejected part of yourself and say, I see you, I accept you, you belong to me. When you integrate your shadow, something miraculous happens. You become whole. You stop fearing judgment because you've already judged yourself and found yourself worthy. All of yourself, not just the acceptable parts. You stop needing approval because you've given it to yourself completely, unconditionally. This is the secret to psychological freedom. Not perfection, but integration. Not hiding your darkness, but embracing your totality. Jung's own journey. From disciple to individual. Jung didn't just theorize about breaking free from approval seeking. He lived it. His break with Freud wasn't just an intellectual disagreement. It was a masterclass in choosing authenticity over acceptance. Picture this Jung in 1912 at the height of his professional success. He's Freud's chosen heir, the future of psychoanalysis, welcomed into the most prestigious circles of European intellectuals. Everything he'd worked for was within reach. But Jung was seeing things that didn't fit Freud's theories, dreams that couldn't be reduced to sexual symbolism, archetypal patterns that pointed to something deeper than individual psychology, spiritual dimensions of the psyche that Freud dismissed as illusion. Jung faced an impossible choice: stay silent and keep his position, or speak his truth and face professional exile. He chose truth. The consequences were devastating. Colleagues turned against him. His reputation was attacked. Former friends labeled him a mystic, a heretic, a traitor to science. For years, he wandered in what he called the confrontation with the unconscious, isolated, questioned, nearly broken. But in that darkness, he found something invaluable himself. He emerged with insights that would revolutionize psychology: the collective unconscious, archetypes, individuation, analytical psychology, ideas that couldn't have been born within the confines of Freudian orthodoxy. More importantly, he emerged as a man who no longer needed anyone's permission to be who he was. This is what real courage looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face rejection for the sake of authenticity. Not the naive belief that everything will work out, but the mature understanding that some things are worth the risk. Jung's story teaches us something crucial. The people who truly change the world are the ones who stop seeking its approval. The process of individuation, becoming who you are. Jung called the journey to authentic selfhood individuation. It's not a destination you reach and then rest. It's a lifelong process of becoming more genuinely yourself. Individuation begins with a painful recognition most of what you think is you is actually just conditioning. Your preferences, your opinions, your goals, your fears. How many are truly yours, and how many were installed by family, culture, media, peer pressure? This recognition is terrifying because it means you have to question everything. The career you chose because it impressed your parents, the relationship style you adopted because it looked good to others, the beliefs you hold because they make you fit in. But this deconstruction is necessary. The false self, the collection of adaptations and performances you've built to survive, must be dismantled before the true self can emerge. This is where most people get stuck. It's easier to keep the mask on than to face the void beneath it. It's more comfortable to follow someone else's script than to write your own. But Jung discovered that on the other side of this breakdown is breakthrough. When you stop trying to be who you think you should be, you discover who you actually are. When you stop seeking approval, you find your own inner authority. The individual person doesn't ignore society or rebel against it mindlessly. They engage with it from a place of authentic choice rather than desperate need. They contribute their unique gifts rather than performing acceptable roles. They disappoint some people, yes, but they inspire others by showing what's possible when you dare to be real. Integration, making peace with your whole self. The final step in Jung's psychology isn't elimination, it's integration. You don't destroy the shadow, you befriend it. You don't abandon all personas, you choose them consciously. You don't reject your need for connection, you fulfill it authentically. Integration means accepting that you are complex. You contain multitudes, light and dark, strength and weakness, wisdom and foolishness. You are not a simple story or a perfect image. You are a human being in all your messy, contradictory, beautiful reality. When you integrate your shadow, you stop projecting your rejected qualities onto others. When you own your anger, you stop being triggered by angry people. When you accept your selfishness, you stop being manipulated by guilt. When you embrace your vulnerability, you stop fearing others' judgment. Integration also means choosing your personas consciously rather than wearing them compulsively. You might still be professional at work, but it's a choice, not a prison. You might still be loving with family, but it comes from genuine care, not desperate need for approval. The integrated person has what Jung called psychological wholeness. They're no longer at war with themselves. They've made peace with their totality. They can be authentic because they're no longer afraid of who they are. This is true freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequences, but the freedom to choose your responses based on your values rather than your fears. Breaking the chains. Practical steps to freedom. So how do you actually do this? How do you break free from patterns that have been decades in the making? First, develop awareness. Start noticing when you're performing versus being. Catch yourself asking, "What will they think?" instead of, "What do I think?" Pay attention to the physical sensations of approval seeking, the tightness in your chest, the rehearsing in your head, the careful calculation of words. Awareness alone begins to weaken the pattern's hold on you. Second, practice micro-authenticity. Start small. Share an opinion that might be unpopular. Wear something you love but others might judge. Say no when you want to say no, even if it disappoints someone. Order what you actually want at restaurants instead of what seems most acceptable. These tiny acts of authenticity build your courage muscle. They prove to themselves that you can survive disapproval. Third, examine your shadow. Examine. Journal about the parts of yourself you've rejected. What aspects of your personality do you judge harshly? What emotions do you try to avoid? What desires do you consider unacceptable? The goal isn't to act on every shadow impulse, but to acknowledge these parts of yourself with compassion. To say, "This is also me, and it's okay." Fourth, find your people. Not everyone will appreciate your authenticity, and that's perfect. You're not trying to be liked by everyone. You're trying to find the people who can love the real you, not just your performance. These relationships will feel different, deeper, more nourishing, less exhausting. They'll remind you why authenticity is worth the risk. Here's something beautiful Jung discovered when you stop trying to be liked by everyone. You become genuinely attractive to the right people. When you stop performing, you start connecting. When you stop hiding your flaws, you become relatable. When you stop seeking approval, you earn respect, not from everyone, but from the people who matter. Authenticity is magnetic because it's rare. In a world full of masks and performances, genuine humanity stands out. People are starved for real connection, for someone who dares to be imperfect, complex, honest. But you can't be authentic strategically. You can't perform authenticity to get approval. That defeats the purpose. You have to be authentic for its own sake, for the sake of your own integrity and peace. This is the paradox. You have to be willing to lose people to find your people. You have to risk rejection to discover true acceptance. You have to disappoint the crowd to inspire the individual. The relationships built on authenticity aren't built on the shifting sand of performance. They're built on the solid rock of truth. They can weather storms because they're based on who you actually are, not who you pretend to be. Right now, as you absorb these words, you're standing at a crossroads. You can continue living the way you always have, seeking approval, wearing masks, keeping the shadow buried, maintaining the comfortable prison of other people's expectations. It's familiar. It's predictable. It's what most people choose. Or you can take the first step toward freedom. You can begin the terrifying, exhilarating journey of individuation, of becoming who you really are, rather than who you think you should be. This isn't a decision you make once. It's a choice you make every day, sometimes every moment. Will you speak your truth or tell people what they want to hear? Will you pursue your dreams or follow the safe path? Will you show your real face or hide behind another mask? Jung's message is both simple and revolutionary. You have the right to be yourself, not the self others want you to be, not the self you think you should be, the self you actually are, flawed, complex, sometimes difficult, sometimes brilliant, always authentic. The world doesn't need another perfect performance. It needs your genuine contribution, your unique perspective, your authentic truth. But you have to choose it every day, over and over again. What area of your life most needs this liberation? Where are you still performing instead of being? Your career, your relationships, your creative expression, your deepest beliefs. I want you to identify that area right now, because awareness is the first step toward freedom. Then I want you to make one small choice for authenticity, not a dramatic gesture, but a single moment of truth. Send that honest text. Wear those clothes you love. Share that unpopular opinion. Say no to that request that drains you. Feel what happens in your body when you choose authenticity over approval. Notice the fear. Yes, but also notice the relief. The sense of coming home to yourself. This is what Jung meant by individuation. This is what he called the privilege of a lifetime. Your true self has been waiting. It's been waiting your whole life, patient and persistent, for you to choose it over the applause of strangers. But here's the thing about breaking free from approval seeking. It's not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice, a continuous awakening. And that's exactly what we explore on this channel. Week after week, we dive deeper into Jung's psychology, into the hidden patterns that run your life, into the uncomfortable truths that set you free. If this video stirred something in you, if it made you question the masks you wear, if it gave you even a moment of clarity about your authentic self, then you're ready for what comes next. Hit that subscribe button. Not because I need your approval, we're past that now, but because your awakening deserves support. Your journey toward authenticity deserves a community. And here's what I want to know in the comments below. Share one area of your life where you realize you've been seeking approval instead of being authentic. Your career, your relationships, your creative dreams, your family dynamics. Be honest. Be vulnerable. Be real. Because every time you name the pattern, you weaken its hold on you. Every time you speak the truth about your struggles, you inspire someone else to do the same. This is how we break the collective trance of approval seeking, not by pretending we're above it, but by admitting we're all in it together. The cage door is open. The only question is, will you walk through it? Your authentic life is waiting on the other side, and we're here to walk that path with you. Don't make it wait any longer.